So what does it take to heal codependency? Hi, it's Vicky Falcone with this week's edition of the Heal from the Affair weekly vlog. Thanks for joining me. Well, last week I introduced you to my fictional client named Vanessa, who's a real person, but I gave her a different name. And she struggled with self-care. She struggled with codependency. And we talked about last week that codependents struggle with self-care, they struggle to set boundaries, and they struggle with self-esteem, having a lot to do with how they were parented. And I shared also that I see a very high prevalence of women who have codependents whose partners have had affairs. It's just a natural setup that if I don't value myself, that I attract someone who doesn't value me that much and has behavior that certainly is not honoring or valuing. And so a lot of the work I do with people is healing this deeper issue that's been percolating beneath the level of but the affair. So it's a really important turning point for people when they get these lessons. So let's dive in. What does it take? Well, number one, codependents are taught by their parents to be needless and wantless. Ouch and ouch, right? To be needless and wantless. So the very first thing we have to do is help people who are codependent get in touch with, what do I want and what do I need right now in this situation? Whether that's what you're eating for breakfast or who you're choosing as a mate. That question becomes extraordinarily important. So awareness is the first step to healing anything, and that's where it all starts. Second is, you need to start to, in very small baby steps, as it's been said, start to meet your own needs and wants. And there are several needs and wants that only you can really meet, and self-care is one of those. So it's not like we can turn this pattern around necessarily quickly, but it absolutely can be done. I know I've turned around a lot of my codependent behaviors in myself. I'm in a relationship now that has way less codependence, although it's still got some, way less than my first marriage had. And so keep the faith. And it starts with little steps, little action steps. And that's so much about what my coaching relationship with my clients is about, is I'm here for accountability and to call you forward. Because the truth is, most people, I don't know anyone, don't call themselves forward into healthier actions and really stay there by themselves. I myself have a coach. I know the importance of this. Now, it doesn't have to be, you don't have to have a coach to do this. Let's bring it to step 3. You do need some support. So step 3 is to get support. Absolutely required. So it can be a therapist, a coach, it can be a 12-step groups. The 12-step group called CODA, C-O-D-A, is very much focused on healing codependency. But you need to do in CODA, or the same thing you would do with a coach or a therapist. You need that person to believe that you can change and to have the tools to change and to have themselves changed. Okay, that's what it takes to really create lasting change. That person needs to have the tools, they need to believe you can change, and then they need to model the change. So in a 12-step group, who models the change is the healthier people in the group. But you've got to have that if you really want to heal yourself and put most of your codependence behind you. And then the last step, what it takes is to repeat often, often, often. It's your destructive and dysfunctional patterns took lots and lots of years of practice to become ingrained. There's no reason to believe, I know you've all experienced how difficult it is to change a habit. There's no reason to believe you could turn it around instantly. And we can't. So we've got to have the determination to show up for ourselves 5% increments at a time and make those small changes that when we look back over time, add up. These are the same 4 steps that one of my clients, we're going to call her Marlene, really worked on very diligently as we worked together. And she sent me one of the most inspiring text messages I've ever received. She started out in tremendous amounts of pain. And I couldn't believe we got to this point. I had to read her text 3 times. But she basically said, you know what? I am so grateful that my husband broke my heart this summer. We had been working together at that point for about 7 or 8 months. She said, because what it brought me to you, and it brought me to this deeper healing, and helped me to change all the ways I had been betraying myself. So that's why the subtitle of my book is How to Turn His Cheating into the Best Thing That Ever Happened to You, is because we can take this really painful event and leverage it into a deep, deep healing. Please know this, it's absolutely possible. And until we meet again, remember, you are smoking hot.